you have been at the forefront of covering what is going on and letting people know that this is not only happening, but it's a lot worse than you think. And now that we are getting on the ground footage of what is really happening in Rafah, it's probably infinitely worse than we could even imagine. What can you share with us right off the bat in terms of where things stand right now on the ground in Rafah?
Okay, well, that's a question we can take from a number of different angles. First of all, if you're not familiar with me, my name's Greg Stoker. I'm a former United States Army Ranger, did 4 combat deployments to Afghanistan. I have a background in special operations and military intelligence, and so that's where I've been coming at the whole Israel and Palestine conflict since October from a military perspective. So, I guess the main focus of attention is the massacre that happened in the Tel Al Sultan neighborhood in Western Rafah last night. So there was a few iterations of conflicting information that was happening. If you look on the Zionist apologist media side, the second the footage got leaked and started making the rounds of the internet, we saw prospectively, potentially a father or at least an adult holding up the body of a decapitated child, toddler, infant. It looked more like a toddler. But yeah, and so that kind of started going viral. And then the first stage of propaganda was, okay, the IDF is saying, and the Israeli Hezbollah Corps is saying essentially, that was a misfired Hamas rocket, like what happened at the Baptist Hospital in October, early November with Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And then the IDF came out and said, no, that was a precision strike against 2 Hamas commanders that were coordinating operations in West Bank out of southern Rafah, which is incredibly stupid because there's no way that whoever's coordinating Hamas operations in West Bank is not doing it out of Gaza. That's insane. There's shoddy communications. It's the most heavily surveilled location on the planet right now. If they're coordinating operations, they're going to be doing it out of Jordan, probably Amman or Damascus, Syria, or Homs in Syria. So to make the assertion that they're doing it, that they're coordinating operations with resistance forces in West Bank out of Gaza is really stupid. We knew it was a lie. That's just not how it works. That's an expansive lecture length conversation, but just take for granted that that's not how it happens. And then it came out earlier today that Benjamin Netanyahu said, oh no, it was a tragic mistake. So we knew it was a lie. So when the IDF publishes the names of these senior Hamas commanders, they're made up individuals generally, unless they strike a target in Aleppo or Beirut, who they actually have targeting data on because they actually are targeting Hamas in foreign countries. Yeah, they're not doing the same for Gaza because they don't really have any targeting data on them. I used to target kinetic strikes on HVT targets like Islamic State, Al-Qaeda back in Afghanistan. I know how it works. The technology hasn't changed. They've got nothing. They're running their entire targeting through an AI. And so the AI made a decision, or somebody made a decision to strike a refugee camp knowing there was no Hamas targets there because Benjamin Netanyahu, again, came out and said that was a tragic mistake, directly contradicting the statement of the IDF. So we know why they made the strike. They made the strike because Hamas, for the first time in a couple months, shot 8 rockets out of Gaza at Tel Aviv. And so what did Israel do? They did a tit-for-tat temper tantrum, shot 8 missiles, most likely Hellfire missiles, out of a drone, like a Predator or a Reaper drone, at a refugee camp. And it's very transparently a revenge strike against civilians, which is by definition collective punishment, which is by definition a war crime. So that's where it stands right now. They don't have targeting data on Hamas. They haven't really. I mean, I'm not saying they haven't shot Hamas or they haven't conducted actual legitimate airstrikes against Hamas, but that's not their main focus. That's not what they've been doing. And yeah, they're basically fighting a holding action in Gaza. They don't have an exit strategy. This is not just my assessment. This is field grade and general officers, field grades like major, colonel, generals like brigadier general, general officers, have come out to Haaretz, Ynet News, Mariv, all these different media outlets within Israel saying, yeah, we can't defeat Hamas. And some of the most liberal estimates is like potentially we could defeat Hamas by 2026, 2027. I think that's personally absurd, but at least they're acknowledging they can't defeat Hamas. Yeah.
You can't defeat them. You kill 15,000, again, on the very conservative estimates, the number's probably exceptionally higher. You kill 25,000 kids. What the hell do you think is going to happen? You are going to create caliphates everywhere. It's like a blob. It'll just grow and grow and grow. Am I wrong?
Well, no, you're not. You're not wrong. I mean, name one example from history where empire has been able to defeat a indigenous uprising. I can't think of one. Didn't work in Vietnam. Didn't work when Napoleon invaded Spain in the Peninsular War. It didn't work. It's never worked, and it's not going to work now. And again, they have no exit strategy. They have nowhere to go. So they're just fighting a holding action, keeping this thing going until they can figure out what to do. But there's nothing to figure out, because one of the things that kept Israel safe for so long was what they call their deterrence capacity. The idea that the IDF was the strongest military in the Middle East. The Mossad was omniscient. They see everything. They hear everything. They're everywhere. Now, October 7th and this subsequent war has proved that that's not true. They are not a competent military. The Mossad has a lot of gaps in its information base and its intelligence synchronization protocols. It's a mess. It's a mess. And they have nowhere to go politically or militarily.
Why do you think Netanyahu felt the need to come out and say that this was an accident, almost as if to suggest that he's, granted, it's probably just, political misdirection as is usually the case, but why did you think he felt obligated to make a statement regarding what has happened?
Well, usually I've been tracking their information operations since this thing began. And generally they have three tacks. What they try first, and if they can get away with it, they say it was actually Hamas. They were driving a little Hilux and it was full of like ramshackle explosives and just blew up and killed a bunch of people. And that usually doesn't work. So they tried that first, again, saying it was a misfired Hamas rocket. Okay, that didn't work. Then they said it was a precision military strike. That didn't hold up because they'd have to prove it. They'd have to give SSE data or targeting data like we did with, bin Laden. We had pictures of him. We had an identity of who he was hitting. We had all this intelligence product that we could give to the public to prove that that's why we went illegally into Pakistan and, took him out. So like whenever you make these illegal strikes, you have to be like, okay, yeah, it's illegal. Here's why we did it and provide evidence. And they've never done that. So when it's very egregious, they don't even try to do that. They just say it was a mistake. It's war. War's horrible, sucks, but like keep a stiff upper lip. So this happened. When's the last time it happened? It happened with the World Central Kitchen when those a bunch of those foreign aid workers were deliberately targeted and killed in order to stop other aid agencies from sending people in. That was their goal by directly targeting the World Central Kitchen trucks. Again, drones shooting Hellfire missiles with massive sensor suites, able to see World Central Kitchen on top of each of the trucks that deliberately shot 1, 2, 3 over the space of like an hour. So, and what did they do? There's no way to explain that away because they had cleared their route with the IDF, saying, "Hey, we're World Central Kitchen. We're going around down this corridor, down this highway during this time." And the IDF's like, "Okay, roger that." And they still shot them. So every time they do something that they can't explain away or propaganda away, they say, "Oh, it was a mistake. My bad. It's war." So this is what they're doing now because it will not hold up to scrutiny. So they're getting ahead of the narrative by saying, "Yeah, it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. They knew what they were shooting."